Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for another session of Coffee with Chris. Today's topic, we're going to cover the Wave 1 release for Business Central, and I'm going to show you what I feel are the most pertinent features that Microsoft is adding to the software. My name is Chris Young, and I'm the managing partner of the NAV and Business Central practice here at Clients First. I've been doing ERP consulting and IT consulting for over 30 years. I spend my days working as the CFO, but also as a Business Central solution architect, helping people to get the most out of the software. And I've been consulting in all things in the NAV world since 1997. So let's dive right into it. What's new? So these features are in the same order as presented on the Microsoft Learn website, where you can go and research and read about the up and coming version and all of the functionality. I've covered probably 90% of the features in this webinar. There are a lot of features relating to sustainability that I didn't dig into deeply, but people can dive in there on their own. The first, for those of you that use the Microsoft Dynamics Field Service product, which is not the Business Central service management product, they've extended the field service integration capability within the software. This is where the information about the release plan is, and it's under learn.microsoft.com. But you can just go into Google and search Business Central 2025 Release 1 Wave Plan, and it'll bring you right to this page. But I'm going to take you through each of these features. So integrating field service with service management, you now have an option when integrating to integrate the field service product as projects integration, which is the formerly known as jobs system, or to the service management system, or to both. So this gives you table mapping for service order types within field service, where you can map, is it bidirectional or is it single directional mapping? When you integrate service accounts, billing accounts, work order types, incidents, these are all features from the Dynamics Field Service module. So a lot more flexibility and enabling inventory by location, which I'll show a screen on a little bit later. View the item availability in field service work orders. So this is the other area where field service has been extended. And based on the Business Central screens, you can couple which location or warehouse, which it's odd that they use the word couple, but it's integrate or synchronize the data between field service and Business Central. This enables you within the field service solution to see inventory availability. So this is a field service screen, and you can see that we can see what's the available inventory for the item I'm looking for by warehouse location. So tightening up that integration. Used improved troubleshooting options. So for anyone that's done cost adjustment and run the cost adjustment, adjust cost item entries, that can take a long time if you don't run it in real time. If you run it on a job queue and you run it once a month. So sometimes when that happens, and some people even on this call have experienced this, during the adjustment routine, it fails. And what Microsoft has done, they've identified and eliminated bottlenecks based on telemetry, feedback data, and code analysis, significantly improving processing speed. They've updated a period by period and selected production or assembly order adjustments only for high transaction items to control the process scope, added notifications for potential issues, high volumes of entries. They've developed a tool to visualize the adjustment progress. This helps us understand where we are with the update of adjust cost routine. And it enables item by item adjustments, which ensures partial progress is saved. So if the system fails, you don't have to start everything over again. So this is great functionality that they've added to go through and manage and run tests to figure out what's happening with cost adjustments. I'm sure this is going to be helpful to many of you. Chat with Copilot. So there's a bunch of things they've done this time with Copilot, but how to use add-on apps. Now, add-on apps is Microsoft's term, but it's extensions. So when we add an extension in the software, based on the documentation that's provided from the developer, we can chat with Copilot. So in this example, there's an add-on with reward levels, gold, silver, bronze on a customer page. So the Copilot prompt is open and someone's typing, how do I set the rewards level to gold, silver, or bronze on a customer page? And based on the information of the documentation provided by the publisher, and Microsoft saying they're not responsible, but the system will answer and give you the prompts to make it to recommend how to utilize those extensions. So it basically means you'll have a consultant available to you to answer your questions running side by side. And that's really my description for what is Copilot, right? Copilot's riding shotgun and there to answer your questions and provide guidance and assistance. Summarize with Copilot. So let's go into Business Central, and on the customer record, on an item record, on a vendor, on an order, you're going to see new feature called Summarize. And if I bring up a customer record and we take a look, you'll notice it's building a summary right now. And you'll see the little Copilot icon. And what it's doing, I don't think it's making us lazy for those of you that think, oh, this is great. No one's going to have to think anymore. But the current balance owed by the customer with overdue payments matching this amount, the total sales this fiscal year with a profit of 146,000 or a margin profit percentage of 52.6%, outstanding invoices and ongoing invoices, you'll notice show more. This is very useful information if we go, let's take a look at an item. And on each item card page and on a vendor, on a sales order, when we take a look at an item record, it's going to build a summary for this product. And as it builds this data set, it's analyzing the data that's in our system to save us time, to make us more efficient, to make us more effective. And current inventory level 119 units with 46 units on demand. So I could see that right here, but it's summarizing the data. The unit price, the standard cost, what's my margin on this product? What's the reorder point? If I click show more, it opens Copilot in a chat window where it can give me more detail on what's happening with this individual item. So right now, this is embedded on customers, but you'll see here the items categorized, so it's more information. Is there a sales forecast available? What was the last shipment date? So very useful, very helpful, and of course, I can drill down into this information that the system's producing. Very cool. Use the sales order agent to automate order taking. So what's a sales order agent? So Microsoft, when we do a chat, when we open Copilot and ask it a question, it processes that and gives you an answer. And each chat is a message. This is how Microsoft will monetize Copilot. So the sales order agent, if I want to enable that, it's sitting right here. I can enable it. And when I activate the agent is going to take actions. It's not just a chat and not just a response. When we put in to monitor incoming information to enable the activity, and it warns me I might be billed for this in the future. It's right now the free, taste to make you hooked on it. But you'd put in what's the mailbox account? So sales@clientsfirst-us.com. And now if an email comes in from a customer and they say, we'd like to add 2 more sessions licenses for Premium Business Central, or we want to buy a prepaid block of support hours because you discount those. The system will see that email, read it, create a quote, and email the quote out to the customer. If the customer replies, you'll see here, it will check inventory, create the quote, the agent processes a reply, and converts the quote into an order if a customer accepts it. This is the first of many agents that Microsoft will be adding to the software. So and the way this works, as opposed to being one chat message, the sales order agent uses the currency of messaging. It uses 18 messages to completely process a receipt of a document, sending a quote, getting the quote, approving it, converting it to an order. And that basically equates to 18 cents. So the way Microsoft will monetize this, they're going to want us to purchase 200 messages a month, or 2,000, pardon me, messages a month for $200. Now, unfortunately, it's a use it or lose it type of scenario, and they're still fleshing out the rules. But basically, if you were getting hundreds of orders a week via email and having to create quotes, convert quotes to orders, every one of those that becomes an order is an 18-cent charge based on the current rules and the way they've managed this sales order agent functionality. It's exciting. The next agent on the roadmap is a payables agent, and that's going to assist us in queuing up things to be paid. Okay, so using sales order agent, suggest gas emissions in sustainability journals. So in the last release and now in this release, they continue to extend functionality on sustainability. This has made a much bigger hit in other countries as it's a requirement for governance and compliance. But basically, we can try out these features, but you'll see the screenshot here where based on the car, the system's going to determine what's the emissions journal that it's going to record, suggesting the emissions using fuel, electricity, distance, custom amounts, whether it's running your plant, driving a company vehicle, and the system will create this and post sustainability data into a sustainability journal. And you'll see there's a whole section over here on sustainability management, including a scope 3 value chain for assembly and transfer of inventory, carbon equivalent data. We could spend the whole hour just going through the sustainability elements. So they're here and you're welcome to dig into them. I only touched on this just to expose that this functionality has been embedded. Enhanced purchase order line matching with Copilot. So if you're not aware, the e-document process, when we import a payable document, a purchase order, a purchase invoice, the system used to use a subscription from a company called Lexmark to do OCR, optical character recognition. Now they use Microsoft Copilot and can create purchase order lines, and it will determine what is the type. Is it a GL account, an item, charge, a resource, and quantities? But the system will go through and will create a matching rule. So Copilot will learn and use for future use. When it detects a line item on an incoming e-document, this is how it's going to learn. And the next time it receives that type of data, as long as it matches 80%, which is that fuzzy logic, it will go through, and if it matches 80% of the fields, it says, okay, I know what to do with this. So they continue to improve this functionality. You can see all the countries where this is deployed. Okay. Screen. So autofill fields with Copilot. So when you're entering a customer, when you're entering an item, when you're entering basically any data in the system. The product, when drafting this record, Copilot can suggest values for some of the editable fields. And how this works, when you see the Sparkle logo, which is the Copilot image, when we're entering a new customer. So we've put in a customer number, and now we click the Sparkle icon, and it's going to suggest the most frequent value used is $6,000. So it suggests that, and you can click keep, and then it will update it. So in this case, it's suggesting multiple recommendations: a credit limit, a salesperson, and a responsibility center. Document sending profiles. So this is production ready for sandbox environments only. But this can be very useful when entering inventory. How often do you have the same general product posting group, or same general business posting group, or same units of measure? So by allowing Copilot to go through and set what are the commonly used values, it'll reduce mistakes and speed up, making you more efficient in your jobs. Automate payables process with the payables agent. So that's coming. That's one I mentioned. And this one's not here yet, but like the sales order policy, or the sales order agent, this is going to go through and it's going to add a bunch of functions associated with the payables agent. That link was not the right link, but that's okay. Submit to the IRS 1099 forms electronically. So they've continued to improve the 1099, including replacing the 1099 miscellaneous with the NEC form. But now submit those forms electronically to the IRIS system in the US localization. So this gives us the ability to track the IRIS transmission page, managing our tax reporting obligations directly within Business Central. Note that this is only available in the SaaS version. So if you're using Business Central on-prem, this feature will not be available for you. Import and export more data with Shopify. So for anyone that's using Shopify, we have the ability to import and export more data and use more Shopify meta fields. So they've done a bunch of things in here. The feature set here indicates that when we go through on the Shopify, we can set up Shopify locations and Shopify customer cards. We can map out business to business company synchronization and process and synchronize orders. When I go through and look at the meta fields, the sales channels in the Shopify connector. So now we can map out various sales channels. So the online store, the point of sale system, that's a Shopify store, a different store. So these are different channels that we can set up, and we can map those various channels. You can also, you would with a location code or a language, you activate the ones you want. Pretty exciting how deep they're making their Shopify integration. Import and export more data. So they've mapped out more metadata. So the various meta fields, and many would be custom fields, we can go through and map those and then have access to that data. So we can import and export stored data from these meta fields and get the meta field definitions from the Shopify instance. Troubleshoot and export issues. So with Shopify transactions, what if transactions get skipped? If orders don't get processed? We now have the capability to review those log entries. So this sales invoice header was skipped because the customer does not exist as a Shopify company or customer in Business Central, or the customer has no email address. So the system couldn't process that record. We can view and show all of these. We can see the connector log issues, and these are the various reasons. An item is blocked, price sync isn't found with a catalog in Shopify, the Shopify order can't receive shipment information back. So lots of good detail. And we can keep our database size under control by saying, how long do we want to keep the skipped records on hand? Delete incorrect e-documents to avoid duplication. So if you've imported an electronic document twice, or it had an issue, we have the ability to do a delete related document. You can't delete ones that have already been processed if they're connected, but many times you might receive in a document twice. If you saved it to SharePoint, but someone or to your OneDrive, so the electronic inbox picks that document up, and then someone added that manually, you're going to have it in here twice. So you have the ability to go through and say, no, this is a duplicate, delete the related document from the eDocs. eDocuments now work with Power Automate. So Power Automate is part of the Power Platform. And what this means is that we can go through, they're not really the standard these days like Microsoft claims. There's still a lot of traditional EDI, but when this API is enabled, we have the ability to share the e-document as a binary large object file through various communication channels using the Power Platform. So it will automatically take an electronic document from Business Central and send it through Outlook, through the Power Platform, send it through Teams to someone else that you want to communicate with so they can import that data. And there are training modules right here at your fingertips to go through, and Microsoft certification for the Power Platform. But they continue to extend it, so we don't need to use an external tool. Send e-documents via service and email simultaneously. So historically, when you wanted to send a e-document out, you had to do it via a service. You can now do that directly from the system. And I'm not going to click this link. I'm going to show it in Business Central in a moment. You can process payments within the e-document framework. So this is another new feature where we can process associated with payment data information on the e-document. Has it been fully paid, partially paid, or unpaid? And the system will include details like the date of the payment collection, the amount collected, including tax or VAT if it's a European company, and the base amount and VAT at the time of payment. It also supports the currency information. Generate multiple incoming e-documents from multiple attachments. So what this refers to is you may receive a large file. We can drag and drop those files and generate multiple purchase orders from that, multiple e-documents from one file. So it will create new incoming e-documents. You can also grab a bunch of files and put them in, and it will create the e-documents for us. There's a lot of process thought in how you're going to utilize this. Are they inbound emailed? Are we going to set up an agent to process those documents when they come in and add them to the incoming documents file? Right in Business Central on your role center, we will have an inbound document folder. And the inbound document folder these are intercompany transactions. I don't have that on this role center, but on your role center, you'd have an inbox with your e-documents that have come in. And that can be automatically updated based on a file location where they're saved or based on them being pushed in from an agent. Okay. Records. Create e-docs from a posted sales invoice. So back in Business Central, if we go to a sales invoice and bring up a posted sales invoice, we now have the ability on an invoice record itself to send that invoice. And When we go through and process send, there are options. We can send to the printer, send as an email, send it to disk or save it really as a PDF, or send an eDoc. And we can do that through the document exchange service or through an extended e-document service flow. It can also do this automatically. So when you post, you can choose post and send, and the system will go through and send that e-document. So as more and more people get away from traditional EDI and start to exchange more e-documents, you're ready to go. Business Central has this waiting for you. Process e-documents in 1 or 2 steps. So this gives you more control over processing an e-document. When we're bringing in the e-doc, we can tell it, do we want the system to automatically create the purchase document? If I turn that on, and that's the automatic process toggle, or turn it off, and then it will create the e-doc, but then you have to open the e-doc to create the purchase invoice or to create the purchase order. So this will, once you start to get comfortable with it, you'll probably turn this on and allow automatic processing, but you have the ability to do 1-step or 2-step processing when processing inbound electronic documents. Analyze subscription billing data. So Microsoft added a couple versions ago subscription billing capabilities, and now they've added a Power BI dashboard that will allow us to analyze information of the subscription overview, revenue year over year, a revenue analysis dashboard, this monthly recurring revenue, calendar year and month, total contract value, revenue by item, by customer, by sales rep, total contract, as well as the following metrics, including things like churn, downgrades, upgrades, change usage-based billing, revenue forecasting. So Microsoft continues to improve the service management functional area. Check the total purchase amount on documents. So checking total purchase amount gives you kind of a batch total. There's a setup option, check document totals under purchase and payable setup. And on purchase invoices and purchase credit memos, you're going to have a new field here to put in the total document amount. So then when you enter your line items, the system's going to calculate the total, and they must match in order for it to process. So to save from keying errors potentially, when someone's keying in a purchase invoice or purchase order, you have the ability to turn that on, and the person keying this data can put in the total document amount, then key in the line items, and this may catch a unit of measure issue where you've got a quantity and a dollar amount, but it was, you thought it was pieces and it was pounds or cases, and now the cost is wrong. So your total is going to be wrong. So nice safety feature if you want to turn that step on. Reschedule production orders within a safety lead time. So currently, when we reschedule production orders, the system will go through and it doesn't have a safety lead time when I manually reschedule. So when we schedule forward or schedule backward from that, it's going to just use the default safety lead time. But now we have the safety lead time field on the stock keeping unit card. We have a safety lead time on the item card, and we have a default safety lead time on the manufacturing setup page. So we can still change the due date or the end date, but the system's going to go through and calculate and warn us based on understanding a safety scheduling lead time. Okay. Service management now supports document layout capability. This speaks to customer specific layouts. So when we have customer document layouts, you already have the ability to do that for a sales quote, a sales order. Now they've fully embedded this within the service management area. So you can specify unique customer-based or customer-specific formats for a service quote, a service order, a service invoice, and a service credit memo. Cancel production orders that have consumption. So you're working on a production order, you've created some consumption entries against it, and you realize something's wrong. You want to undo this, you want to back it out. Currently can't do that with version 25 and prior of Business Central. But in version 26, after wave one, we can open up a production order that is released and in process, and we can reverse the production order transaction. So for entries type that have consumption, it will go through and copy the original transaction, but process it with a negative or the opposite sign. We used to do that as a workaround when someone overconsumed was post negative consumption, but they removed the ability to do that. So now they've added this and automated it by allowing us to reverse production order transactions. For item ledger entries that have output or capacity, it will create those offsetting lines as well. But it's only enabled for entries if you have a subcontracted transaction associated with this. You can't, and subcontracting caused consumption due to a back flush or forward flush method, you can't reverse those. So it gives us, though, some really strong control to allow turning on this toggle. You also have the ability to finish an order without any output, and that's this toggle, which will allow us to clear out a production order, and it will reverse any accumulated WIP that's been created. So there's a deep amount of investment that Microsoft's made in extending the manufacturing capabilities, and we're going to cover a couple of other ones. You can add more fields to various pages with release 26. So when we look at those, name and name to, those fields have always been there, but they've added ship to, name to field is available on sales, service, projects, purchase drafts, posted and archived documents. The work description field. So there's a work description when you click show more on a quote on an order. That is now available. The description to field has been added on simulated, planned, firm planned, released, and finished orders. The routing link code, the location code is now visible by production order component or on a planning component line. Capacity ledger entries, you can add the order line number, capacity, unit of measure, and capacity ledger entry fields. On the capacity need page, when calculating capacity, status, efficiency, needed time, all these fields are now available. Production order routing page now has a bunch of different fields as well, including the posted setup time flow fields to show you what's been accumulated so far. The production bomb version list page will show the starting date. Routing version list will show the starting date. Service quotes, so you see customer number field is now available on posted purchase invoices. If you've purchased something that is for a drop ship, you'll see that information directly on the posted documents, and the vendor number as well is available on the posted purchase credit and posted purchase invoice screens. Allow multiple people to post inventory simultaneously. So this is a big productivity improvement, that multiple users that are putting inventory away or recording output of production can post to inventory at the same exact time. What they can't do, there are limitations. GL postings will always be sequential. So if you have two or more people posting and the ledger entry that gets applied, you can only have one person posting to one inventoriable item at the same time. So two people can post to different inventoriable items, but not to the same one. So there is a relevant element here about automatic cost posting and toggling that on and off, so that you will also eliminate running into deadlocks if tables are locking. But for a lot of high volume, high transaction volume users, you probably don't have automatic cost posting turned on anyway, so it won't be an issue for you. Improved user experience in manufacturing in general. So Microsoft has added here a bunch of feature details. The fact box that's displayed on the right-hand side of the screen is now displayed when we go through and click on a component line. We'll have the component details visible directly on the production order when reviewing the production order components. We can change multiple production order statuses in bulk. So in a list of released orders, we can click a bunch of them and move them to finished, instead of having to do them one at a time. When reviewing error messages, if the status of the orders can't change, they get skipped, but it gives us an error message. We can print production order, component list, and routing report for selected orders by selecting multiple orders and then clicking go ahead and print those out for me. Print multiple production orders created from the planning worksheet. So when we carry out the action messages to create our production orders, print them out. So edit in Excel on a standard cost worksheet. So now when you want to update your standards, especially thinking about the way tariffs you may want to grab all items filtered by country of origin and update the standard costs. Even if you're not using standard as a costing method, you can use this tool to update the standard cost on an item card and to calculate a rolled up bill of material to determine what those costs might be and are we still profitable. Production order routings, we can edit the routing link code on the routing lines page, which means which routing link, which step will I require, or which components will I require based on which operation. Okay, so yeah, a bunch of powerful stuff there to improve usability in manufacturing. Greater accuracy in manufacturing costing. So we have a tool where now we have the ability to include non-inventory costs in a finished good produced cost. So when you have items set up, they're either items, non-inventory, or service. We have the ability to tell it if we want to include non-inventory items in the manufacturing cost roll-ups. And if we want them to go in, which account do we want them to post to? To direct cost, non-inventory applied, or as material non-inventory cost, we can choose the capacity overhead and record that data. So when we see this, the non-inventory costs will be rolled up. And when we drill down into the cost that was produced, we'll see what was manufacturing overhead, what was capacity, what was non-inventory material, and the overall material associated with the costing that was produced on a product, giving you more ability to drill into the depths of cost accounting from production. You can turn off the ability or the requirement to omit a warehouse pick when we manually flush. So that means when we consume inventory against production, we have the ability to, based on the flushing method, we're going to pick and then go through manual consumption. We can now flush, and we don't require the ability to go through and process the warehouse document. We can omit that pick, and it will just back flush those components or manually flush the components. Receiving project items with receipts or putaways. So this relates to the job costing or project system. And basically, we have the ability now to post receipts of good and consumption from the order line, or post receipt and consumption from a put away or from a warehouse receipt. So as long as the job is set up on the purchase document, when we process that receipt, It's going to record the consumption directly against the job. So we don't have to go through and do a separate job journal to record that information against project specific purchases. Okay. And we have the ability to block production output for specific items or specific variants. If we go back into Business Central and we'll bring up an item. And we'll bring up this bundle. We have the ability to tell it we want to have production blocked on this. So don't go ahead and make this, and block output. So this product can't be produced anymore. You'll also notice the sparkle icon that's here, and it's going to make a suggestion, if it can, on what I should put there. And it's going to open up Copilot and make a recommendation. But right here, it's gone through and made these updates. It's updated the information, make to stock, it's put the routing in, the lot size, and it's recorded, we're going to block production output. And I'll say keep it. And based on that, it's made this change for me. Handle production output with a warehouse put away. So this means that when I want to record output against a production order, this is streamlining the process where I'm going to keep all of those suggestions, and that's now saved. If I go to the location card where I set up my warehouses, and I'll bring up the main warehouse here, we can record that when I record output from production, that I can tell it that this is actually right here, production output, warehouse handling. What do I want the system to do? And it will go through and it can record the output on the fly. So when I record that I brought things out of production, the system's going to go through and record the output while doing the warehouse put away, saving me a step of recording output and sending it to a bin. I can simply create the warehouse put away document when I record the production output. So no warehouse handling, or if I tell it warehouse put away, when I record production output, it won't go ahead and put it into a bin. It will directly create a put away to save a step out in the warehouse. Reopen a finished production order. So this is a pretty big deal. Many times people have made a mistake when recording production. Maybe we forgot to record some output or some consumption or the labor that was recorded. So when we go into a finished production order, what do you do now? So if you've got a finished production order that you've recorded in the system and the statistics are wrong, we made 2 of these auto drips, and if I take a look at the statistics on this coffee pot, I didn't put any costs in. So I messed up. So what do? Well, these are now sitting in inventory. So normally the process would be, let's go through and record a revaluation journal on the item, but that's not going to properly link the components. Well, now we have the ability to reopen it, and reopening that will allow me to go through, update the actual consumption of material, correct the output that was recorded. Remember, we can now also do negative consumption. So if we overconsumed or we recorded too much labor, we have the ability to adjust that and then re-record finishing that production order, which will correct everything and take everything into consideration. We also have the ability to print labels. And if I set a label report, but we'll go ahead and I have a link from, okay, I'm skipping ahead. There are some streamlined product design tools in manufacturing. And those streamlined product design tools allow me to save steps by adding multiple items to a production BOM or production order component at once, by using the select items button to grab a group of components and bring them in. We can also copy or choose production active BOM version and get information about the active version bill of material and do on one screen a multi-version comparison of the BOMs, single or multiple level. So good functionality for people that use multiple versions on their BOMs. We can look at production output labels. So the system will now natively print barcode production labels. And this is a word-based report layout, but it will go through, and if we're using item tracking, this is the serial number for the product, and it has the three-dimensional barcode for us, all built into Business Central. Manage document attachments in manufacturing. So within the manufacturing area, you now have the ability to attach multiple documents. These are all the pages where they've added the ability to use the document attachment fact box. So production BOMs, routings, the list, simulated, planned, firm planned, released, finished production orders, and directly on the production order lists. And you can use the attachment action to go ahead and attach those documents. So technical drawings, any kind of information, quality inspection, attaching those documents is at your fingertips throughout production. You can use edit in Excel on the output journal, the consumption journal, or just on an item journal. Why is this important? A lot of people that have serial number information, for example, we can go ahead and through an item journal or a consumption journal, you can edit in Excel and take all of that data in an item journal and record details like the item tracking, lot number, serial number, package number, warranty, expiration. So when it's recording consumption against production orders, recording output from production, or just doing inventory item journals, positive adjustments, negative adjustments, that edit in Excel feature is now here. It's very popular and very helpful. And finally, preview of PDF attachments directly from the web client. So for any of you that use document attachments in a significant way, let's go back into Business Central. And right here on this finished production order, I have a PDF document attached here. It's a note from Chase Bank, but whatever that document is, normally when you click on that document, it downloads that document to your computer in order for you to be able to open it. Well, I'm happy to announce that now, right here in the web, we can preview attached PDFs anywhere they're attached in Business Central, a powerful feature from version 26. And I'll go ahead and close that. So I know I've been feeding everyone from the fire hose for quite a while. And, you know, Microsoft continues to add new functions and new features. Version 26 brought a lot to the table, a lot of AI or Copilot features, a lot of manufacturing functionality, some service functionality, sustainability, and Microsoft is going to continue to invest, and you'll be continuously able to install the latest release. So update your sandboxes and test and make sure that you're taking advantage of everything that Business Central has to offer. If anyone has any questions, I'm monitoring the chat. And if not, there's a question. Wow, that's a lot of new features. Is this webinar published anywhere that I can share it with other people? Thank you very much. Yes, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available for everyone. You'll get a link and an email following up thanking you for attending, and please share it. It'll be available as every Coffee with Chris webinar I've ever done they're out there. So we're pleased to have you here live. And I notice the numbers aren't that high today. It's probably because people know, oh, this is recorded. I can watch this when I'm ready to go to bed, and Chris can put me to sleep. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for spending the last hour with us. And everyone have a wonderful day and get value from your investment in Business Central. Take care.